Justice doesn't send a warning text. It just shows up right on time. Chosen one, hear me clearly. The delay wasn't random. The timing was locked before you even had language for what you were asking. Schedules were set behind the curtain, not to punish you, but to pour the foundation for what must stand when it arrives. This is not about luck, not about favoritism. It's about construction. Chosen one, open your eyes. Your process had to be different, slower, deeper, because your future isn't flimsy. You weren't late. You were being built. Blueprints were drawn to the millimeter. Curing time mattered. Drying time mattered. Integrity checks mattered. The version of you begged to become required sanding, sealing, and stress testing. You don't strap a rocket to scaffolding. You finish the structure, then you launch. Here's the fact that should make your spine straighten. Reality doesn't negotiate, it collects. The universe isn't sentimental, it's precise. Procedures protect outcomes. If you had received it early, your hands would have shaken, your breath would have shortened, your center would have slipped. Take a breath. Feel your spine lengthen. This is not speculation, it's mechanics. Readiness is math. Capacity is load-bearing. Alignment is the only adhesive that holds a life together when momentum hits. You keep calling it suddenly, but suddenly is only the unveiling of work completed in the unseen. It looks instant because you didn't witness the welding, the wiring, the weight tests in the dark. When the curtain lifts, it's not magic, it's compliance. The moment the math says, now. So consider this question and let it settle into your bones. What if the delay wasn't a detour, but the exact construction phase required for the version of you that can hold what's next without cracking? Stay with me, beginning to end. Because when we close this journey, I will show you why it had to take this long and how to keep what finally arrives. Chosen one, lean in. The law is simple and it does not blink. Timing isn't personal, it's procedural. Cycles close when lessons are integrated, not when impatience peaks. Thresholds exist. Once enough weight is added to your frame, release becomes non-optional. Justice doesn't send a warning text. It shows up on schedule the exact moment the math balances. Not slowly, not emotionally, precisely. Because reality is math before it's a mood. Pause with me and feel how this lands in your body. Procedures protect outcomes. That's why the delay behaved like a sequence, not a stall. Doors didn't open because the corridor ahead required a different breathing pattern, a steadier hand, a cleaner signal. If it had opened early, you would have entered under-equipped and paid in pain. Neuroscience confirms it. When capacity is outpaced by demand, the nervous system flips into chronic fight. Cortisol climbs, sleep fractures, breath shortens. The body keeps score even when the mouth says, I'm fine. The delay said no so you wouldn't collapse under a yes, too heavy for your current spine. Imagine this, an air traffic tower sequencing landings. The pilot doesn't argue with the runway has rules. Or a dam calibrated to pressure. It doesn't feel generous and flood the valley. It opens when the tolerance is right. Your life followed the same protocol. Not to tease you, to secure you. Not to embarrass you, to establish you. Not to make someone else lose. To make you arrive clean and stable. Here's the fact that should make your spine straighten. This wasn't revenge. It was removal. Removal of static, of leakage, of the off-key notes that interference sticks to. Alignment cancels interference. When you move clean, sabotage can't land. It slides off smooth surface and returns to sender with interest. Plant this in your chest. Your future expectation wasn't being postponed. It was being built like a container. Containers have walls, seams, cure times. If you pour too soon, it buckles. If you rush the seal, it leaks. The universe honored your request by refusing your rush. Procedures existed so your future wouldn't collapse under your present capacity. Take a breath. You weren't sidelined, you were sequenced, and the schedule was written for your staying power. Chosen one, hear me. You weren't stuck because you lacked talent, favor, or force. You were moving through interference, noise that tried to bend your focus, doubts that inflated at midnight, fatigue that pressed down at the exact moment momentum wanted to rise. Distraction circled like static around a clean frequency, hoping you'd distort yourself just enough for sabotage to grip. Here's the fact that should make your spine straighten. Interference needs chaos to stick. If there's no wobble in you, there's nothing for it to hold. Control made you tired because control chases outcomes. It grabs, negotiates, overplans, and still feels exposed. Alignment, meanwhile, becomes a signal reality can amplify. When you're aligned, you move like a tuned instrument. No squeal, no squeak, just tone. Science calls it reducing noise to signal ratio. Psychology calls it cognitive clarity. The universe calls it coherence. And coherence is dangerous to interference because alignment cancels interference. When you move clean, sabotage has nowhere to land. It slides off and returns to sender with interest. Pause with me. Breathe once through the nose. Slow. The more impact assigned to your life, the more precision required inside your world. Big engines need balanced cylinders. High voltage requires proper grounding. Chosen one, your reach demanded a cleaner interior math. That's why the training tightened. That's why shortcuts burned you faster than they burned others. Tools don't choose sides. They amplify intent. When the intent is clean, amplification becomes lift. When the intent is panicked, amplification becomes exposure. Let's take inventory, quickly and honestly. What keeps pulling you out of coherence? People-pleasing that dilutes your no. Over-explaining that tries to purchase safety with excess words. Rushing that mistakes adrenaline for progress. Impulsive yeses that mortgage your attention for crumbs of approval. Staying in rooms that require you to shrink to be tolerated. These are not quirks. They are leaks. Every leak becomes a handhold for interference. Seal them and watch how quiet the battlefield becomes. Feel this settle. You weren't powerless. You were being refined until interference had nothing left to grip. Once your interior rhythm locked, the field changed. Not because you controlled every variable, but because you carried a clean signal. And clean signals travel far, fast, and without apology. Chosen one, listen closely. What you survived was not random weather, it was curriculum. Discipline burns slow and builds steel. You wanted acceleration, you were handed apprenticeship. You called it delay. It was lab time under bright lights and honest measurements. Not punishment, construction of identity. Here's the fact that should make your spine straighten. The schedule wasn't cruel, it was careful. And careful is what keeps futures from collapsing. Imagine this, metal in a forge, heat, pressure, quench, repeat, not to torment the blade, but to drive out brittleness invisible to the eye. Your season did that. It tempered you until your yes meant yes, without hidden wobble, and your no stood without apology. Science calls it increasing tolerance and stress resilience. Psychology calls it integrated self-trust. The universe calls it calibration. Let's name what formed inside you while you thought nothing was happening. Discernment, so you can feel the difference between a glittering offer and a grounded opportunity in one breath. Boundaries, clean lines that do not require anger to be firm. Patience, not passivity, but the power to wait without leaking integrity. Emotional regulation, the ability to hold voltage without frying your circuits. And self-trust, the quiet knowing that your read is valid without a chorus to confirm it. These are not souvenirs, they are systems. They are the inner scaffolds that carry weight when momentum arrives. Chosen one, Note your restraint. You didn't expose them loudly. You stayed in your lane and let time do what it always does: collect. You didn't argue your worth in cheap rooms or auction your peace to buy approval. That wasn't weakness. That was weaponized stillness. Calm is not a lack of power. It is power that chose precision over theater. Why were you trained this way? Because your influence won't end at your front door. The temperature of your nervous system will set the room for people you'll never meet. Neuroscience calls it co-regulation. When your baseline is steady, those around you stabilize, decisions clarify, and chaos has fewer handholds. The curriculum scaled your interior because your reach will scale your exterior. Take a breath and feel the hinge appear. The shift won't start outside, it locks inside. Identity first, unveiling second. When who you are stops wobbling, reality stops waiting. Chosen one, your body has never lied to you. It prints receipts. Here's the fact that should make your spine straighten. When you're not ready, your nervous system says no. Science calls it stress overload. Psychology calls it cognitive collapse. Reality calls it misalignment. Not moral failure, not cosmic neglect. Mechanics. Pause with me. Feel how fight mode narrows your world, tunnels your vision, speeds your thoughts, but slows your wisdom. In that state, clocks distort, red flags and green lights blur, and you chase urgency like it owes you clarity. Sleep breaks, breathing shifts, overthinking spikes at 2 a.m. Your jaw hardens. Your gut negotiates every meal. The body keeps score even when your mouth says, "I'm fine." That wasn't betrayal, it was protection. Your body refused to carry what your identity couldn't yet hold without cracking. Imagine this, a circuit breaker tripping in a storm. It doesn't hate the house, it protects the house. The delay worked the same way. I did not withhold the opportunity. I stabilized the vessel. A dam doesn't open because the valley begs. It opens when the pressure lines say, safe. Procedures protect outcomes. Regulation before revelation. Now apply power the quiet way. Micro practice real time. 1. Take a 4-count inhale through the nose, 6 to 8-count exhale through the mouth. Longer exhale tells your system, we are not in a fire. 2. Drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, place your feet flat, name 3 anchors you can see. Presence cancels panic. 3. Set a boundary in a sentence. Not my pace, not my problem, not my energy. 4. Choose one clean action and execute it without commentary. Calm is leverage. Alignment cancels interference. Neuroscience confirms it. Lengthened exhale re-engages the prefrontal cortex. Cognition returns. Timing untangles. Psychology calls it regulation. The universe calls it clearance. When your breath steadies, your choices denoise, and doors stop looking like tests and start behaving like portals. Hear me, chosen one. Your body wasn't delaying you, it was discipling you. It kept you from sprinting into a yes that would have shattered your nights and frayed your purpose. Breathe now. Feel the receipt print a new line. Capacity available. When identity locks and the nervous system stabilizes, reality stops waiting and starts collecting. Chosen one, imagine this. A steel bridge over deep water, morning fog tucked low, a posted limit in bold numbers at the entrance. 18 tons. Not a suggestion, not a mood. A law written in metal, bearings, and math. A driver can plead, a schedule can scream, the sign won't blink. Physics does not bargain. If a truck ignores the limit, the bridge doesn't get offended, it gets stressed. Shear increases, bolts complain, oscillation builds, and if the load wins, collapse writes the headline. Here's the fact that should make your spine straighten. The limit isn't punishment, it's protection for everything that must cross and everything that waits below. Now take a breath and shift angles with me. Your delay was that posted limit and the months of reinforcement that kept the cones up and the lanes narrow. Weld checks, torque checks, new rebar, deeper pilings, upgraded dampers to kill the dangerous sway. Lanes closed not to humiliate the city, but to preserve it. You weren't weak. What's coming is heavy, responsibility heavy, visibility heavy, authority heavy, stewardship heavy. The kind of freight that exposes hairline cracks in people who sprinted past their signs. Neuroscience even whispers the same thing with a different accent. Too much load without reinforcement spikes cortisol, fractures sleep, destabilizes choice. The body keeps score when the bolts are under-torqued. Suddenly isn't confetti on this bridge. It's the morning the barriers vanish and no announcement is needed. A convoy rolls, the steel hums, and there is no drama because the math has been satisfied. Reinforcement is invisible until the day it holds what it couldn't hold before. Drivers call it open. Engineers call it ready. Reality calls it compliant. Understand the sequence. Weight by weight, lesson by lesson, you were rated up. Boundary weight passed. Scrutiny weight passed. Money stewardship weight passed. Platform visibility weight passed. Silence under gossip weight passed. Each pass increased your capacity rating without requiring a performance, just proof. Procedures protect outcomes. Reality doesn't negotiate, it collects. Chosen one, open your eyes. The delay strengthened your capacity so the breakthrough doesn't become the thing that breaks you. Not to keep you small, but to keep you safe while you carry others. Not to stunt momentum, but to stabilize it. Your lanes are widening now because your understructure is honest. When the next load arrives, you won't flinch. You'll hold. And holding is the point. Chosen one, hear this verdict and let your spine straighten. You were never the prey. You were the mirror. Traps don't care who built them. They respond to weight. Pressure doesn't ask who's right. It exposes what's grounded. Reality doesn't negotiate. It collects. When misalignment pressed against you, it met a surface that didn't absorb. Your restraint turned you reflective. Anything off-key aimed at you couldn't land. It could only return with interest to the hands that launched it. Yes, there were fake smiles that hid quiet envy, soft tones with sharp intentions, invitations shaped like help that smelled like interference. She rehearsed, they plotted. The room performed concern. You didn't shout. You didn't sprint into theater. You kept your hands clean, your feet planted and your signals steady. Alignment cancels interference. Sabotage needs wobble to grip. You gave it glass, smooth, flat, uncooperative. Tools don't choose sides, they amplify intent. Their own force became their feedback. Here's the mechanic in plain language. Force without grounding snaps back. Manipulation runs a cost it can't hide for long. Neuroscience confirms it. Sustained deception pushes the system into chronic fight. Cortisol spools up, sleep breaks, breathing turns shallow, micro tremors show up in choices. Psychology calls it cognitive collapse. The universe calls it reversal. The body keeps score even when the mouth performs kindness. That's why the smile thinned, the story tangled, the timing betrayed them. Feedback loop complete. Understand the justice so you don't waste it on gloating. This wasn't revenge, it was removal. Removal of access to your energy. Removal of confusion from your path. Removal of delay that fed on your reactivity. Quiet doors sealed. Old permissions expired. Your mirror didn't hurt them. It handed them their own signal unedited. Traps don't choose victims, they test builders. Now pivot back to what matters. The reversal is a side effect. Your story is calibration. You are not defined by what bounced off you, but by what locked inside you. Identity steady, breath long, steps clean, stay awake, chosen one. You don't argue with collapse. You honor your alignment and walk forward. Procedures protect outcomes. You don't celebrate loudly, you breathe, and you build. Chosen one, here is the hinge. The day the ground shifted under your feet wasn't the day they finally agreed with you. It was the day you stopped auditioning. You stopped shrinking to fit rooms that loved your usefulness and feared your fullness. You stopped explaining truths your spirit had already verified. You stopped begging for signs and became one. Steady breath, clean spine, unpurchased pace. That was the after. The before was noise. The after is tone. Here's the fact that should make your spine straighten. Reality responds to who you are, not what you wish. Identity precedes environment. When your inner posture locks, your choices simplify, your boundaries stop bleeding, your calendar stops apologizing. You move cleaner, clearer, sharper. Alignment makes decisions faster and consequences simpler, not cruel, precise. When you know your signal, you don't negotiate with static, you switch bands. Take a breath. If this is hitting close, that flutter in your chest isn't panic, it's confirmation. Your spirit recognizes its own upgrade. Psychology calls it identity consolidation. Neuroscience calls it pattern selection. Your brain stops asking, "Who am I here?" and starts executing, "This is how I move." The universe calls it clearance. Doors that confused you become obvious. This one is a corridor. That one is a cul-de-sac. You stop knocking on walls and start walking through openings. Suddenly, forms like this. Micro upgrades stacking in quiet. One clean no that doesn't need rage to stand. One brave yes that doesn't need a crowd to feel valid. One evening where you choose rest over frantic output. One morning you don't check for permission slips in other people's eyes. Brick by brick, signal by signal, the math completes. Then what looked stalled flips into motion, not because reality changed its mind, but because you matched its frequency. Alignment cancels interference. When you hold your line, timelines condense. Chosen one, remember the sequence. Identity locks, then the landscape organizes. You don't beg the river to flow. You become a bank it can trust. From this posture, you won't chase proof. You will generate it, quietly, inevitably, on time. Chosen one, lean in. Future expectation isn't a wish you send into the sky. It's a container you build on the ground. Expectation is structure, readiness, stewardship, and standards shaped into walls that can hold weight without warping. Hope imagines, expectation prepares. Here's the fact that should make your spine straighten. Reality doesn't negotiate, it collects. It does not pour into holes, it pours into vessels. Think architecture, not appetite. Beliefs are your blueprint. What you allow to be true about you determines ceiling height. Boundaries are your walls. What you refuse is as sacred as what you receive. Skills are your framing, the daily competencies that won't collapse when volume increases. Discernment is your door. What enters must match the room. Emotional regulation is your foundation. Without it, everything pretty on top tilts under stress. Psychology calls it capacity scaffolding. Neuroscience calls it load tolerance. The universe calls it fit. Why couldn't you receive it earlier? Early access would have amplified your wobble. That platform would have become a megaphone for insecurity. That money would have hired your exhaustion. That relationship would have partnered with your unhealed patterns. Wrong alliances smell desperation. They arrive when your standards leak. In that state, you mistake attention for alignment and urgency for timing. Cortisol climbs, choices scramble, self-sabotage writes invoices you pay in silence. Your body knew. It printed the receipt. Not yet. Now, hear the inevitability law that calms the nervous system. Once the container is honest, what belongs to you has permission to arrive. Not as a favor, as procedure. Think of an address verification. Parcels don't ship to a moving target. When your identity stabilized and your systems organized, the route cleared. The delay felt like denial, but it was upgrades to your receiving system. New shelves labeled, new locks installed, new temperature set so the contents don't spoil. Breathe. God wasn't delaying the gift. He was building the container that keeps the gift from turning into a burden. Expectation is built, not begged. When your standards stand, supply stops wandering. When your container fits, fulfillment doesn't slip through, it settles quietly, precisely, on time. Chosen one, listen. Suddenly isn't magic, it's momentum revealed after alignment has been quietly completed. The sequence runs like clockwork, long silence, internal reorder, one clean decision, rapid external rearrangement. That is the math. Procedures protect outcomes. Reality doesn't negotiate, it collects. First, the long silence. Emails thin, doors don't budge. The room feels airless. That's not exile, that's calibration. Your calendar tightens, your boundaries harden without bitterness. Your breath lengthens. You stop begging signs to love you and let your standards speak. Neuroscience calls it reducing noise load. Psychology calls it decision clarity. The universe calls it fit. Then internal reorder. Drawers get labeled, agreements get rewritten. You retire the frantic yes. You prune what drinks your attention without feeding your assignment. Sleep returns in clean blocks. Cravings for chaos drop. You feel less tempted to explain yourself. Alignment cancels interference. Next, one decision. Not 10. 1. The email you send that closes a leak. The call you make that honors the truth you already knew. The offer you decline because its shine outran its substance. The budget you clean. The boundary you enforce in a single sentence. That tap is the switch. Now watch the rearrangement. Doors that held firm click. Calls appear you did not chase. Confirmations arrive. Quiet, exact, right on time. Exits happen without your hand on the handle. Misaligned ties unravel themselves. Unexpected openings feel strangely unsurprising, like the room had been waiting for you to stand up straight. Science calls it a cascade effect. Reality calls it collection. Here's what to look for so you don't miss it. Fewer distractions hunting you, sharper intuition in your first read, endings that are clean instead of explosive, openings that ask for peace rather than performance. Your appetite for spectacle drops. Your pace steadies. Peace is the signal, not hype, not adrenaline. Peace. Chosen one, stay settled as it turns loud outside. Real alignment doesn't rev you up, it regulates you. You won't need to sprint, you'll step. Answer only what's yours. Guard your margins. Keep your breath long. The sequence is live now. Quiet alignment, then loud movement, not luck. Procedure. Chosen one, stay awake in the arrival. The point of the delay was not just to arrive, it was to arrive and remain. Here's the fact that should make your spine straighten. Arrival doesn't crown you, it calibrates you again. Do not trade your upgrade for old habits. Don't over-explain to buy safety. Don't rush intimacy to outrun loneliness. Don't downgrade your standards to feel less threatening in small rooms. Restraint is dominance now. You don't gloat. You don't chase validation. You let the work speak and time collect. Authority that is real moves quietly. It doesn't need confetti to feel complete. Protective commands, hold them like edges on your container. If a room demands a performance, leave it empty-handed. If an opportunity asks you to wobble your no, it isn't yours. If a face warms fast but asks for access faster, pause. Interference feeds on hurry. Alignment cancels interference. Chosen one, your silence is not passivity, it's insulation. Your pace is not timid, it's precise. Procedures protect outcomes. Here's your discipline list. Simple, mechanical, non-negotiable. 1. Pause before yes. At minimum, one breath cycle longer than comfort. Urgency is not a green light. 2. Protect mornings. No screens before your signal sets. Anchor breath, intention, and schedule before the world auditions for your attention. 3. Audit relationships. Who regulates you? Who dysregulates you? Who rents space without paying in truth? Adjust access accordingly. 4. Keep routines boring and faithful. Sleep, movement, deep work blocks, nourishment. Consistency is the scaffolding for capacity. 5. Document wins, not for applause, for proof. A running log converts feelings into data. Reality respects records. Psychology calls it reinforcement. The universe calls it collection. Use what the delay built, discernment. The next season doesn't need emotional decisions, it requires clean ones. Adrenaline is loud but imprecise. Clarity is quiet and surgical. Breathe now. Inhale 4, exhale 8. Neuroscience confirms longer exhales downshift fight mode. Cognition returns. Choose peace over pace. Peace is how you keep it. When your body stays regulated, your standards stay in place, and your yes retains its spine. Stay awake as it turns loud outside. Answer only what's yours. Guard your margins. Keep your breath long. You didn't come this far to relapse into what required rescue. Arrival is not a peak, it's a platform. Remain and watch reality do what it always does. Collect on time into a vessel that refuses to leak. Chosen one, take one steady breath and hear the verdict. Construction is complete. The cones are up, the welds are set, the inspections signed. The unveiling is near, not because you begged, but because the math cleared. Timing is collecting on your behalf. Here's the fact that should make your spine straighten. When you participate as the upgraded version of you, your future expectation meets you with speed and precision. Not noisy, not nervous, precise. Reality doesn't negotiate, it collects. Now participate like someone who's ready. Signal the shift. If this word regulated you, press like and subscribe. Not for vanity, for mission. Let the algorithm know this message matters, so it finds the ones replaying blame loops at 2 a.m., the ones mistaking delay for denial, the ones who need a clean law more than a loud pep talk. Chosen one, drop 777 in the comments as a public anchor. Alignment over anxiety, readiness over rushing, procedure over panic. It's not superstition, it's a stamped decision, identity locked. If this work has been water in a dry season, consider supporting the channel. Not charity, continuity. Support keeps the lights on, the message moving, and the quiet rooms funded, where people you'll never meet remember who they are. You are not random, you are part of a force. When you sustain the signal sustains the mission. From here, move like the person the delay built. Keep your breath long, your yes with spine, your no without anger. Audit your rooms, protect mornings, document proof, speak boundaries in sentences, not essays. Answer only what's yours. Stay awake as it turns loud outside, and let your peace be the loudest thing about you. Procedures protect outcomes. You don't have to force a door. Doors made for you swing on schedule. What's yours will recognize you now, the version with capacity, with coherence, with clean edges that refuse to leak. Step, don't scramble. It's already on time.